welcome to another episode of Diary of a Wannabe Comedian with me, Belle, a wannabe comedian. And I'm fully refreshed. I've had lots of sleep and I feel so much better. It's surprising how tiring the weekend was in Birmingham. So last night I had a gig. That was my first one in a little while. I seem to have had a little bit of a break. So I was a bit tongue-tied in places, but all in all, I think it went quite well. And people afterwards said, oh, that's a great set. So, it's that same thing that the internal part of me doesn't match what people see externally. So that critic just, needs to quieten down just a little bit. It's a funny old gig, that one. The lady that runs it basically practices her, I think I've said this before, she practices her Edinburgh Fringe set that she's going to do. So she kind of does 5 minutes in between each act. So it's quite a long one, and a few people actually didn't even bother coming back after the break. So that was intriguing, to say the least. So I did say that I would talk a little bit about the weekend. It was a real eye-opener for me, proper trade unionism at its best. I don't even know how to say it. It was just like nothing I've ever been to before. There was about 22 motions that we all voted on over the 3 days. And obviously I'm not going to go through all of those, but there was a few that kind of stuck in my mind. And one of which was, I don't even know why it's a thing. So when I say motions that we voted on, so this is things that collectively we've decided are the top things that Equity should tackle in the forthcoming year, be that lobbying government or whatever it is they do. But as I say, one of them, I'm not even sure I understand why this is a thing. So the Working Time Directive, I remember when this came into being it was under Tony Blair's government. So it would have been late 1990s, early 2000s. And one part of the Working Time Directive, because there was a number of bits to it, but one part of it ensured that everybody accrued annual leave, or they were all entitled to 28 days annual leave a year. That's all great, great stuff. But I really hadn't appreciated that that's based on working 5-day week. So if you only work 4 days a week, you accrue 4/5 of 28 days, so on. The whole of the West End works on a 6-day working week. So not only do they not accrue as much leave, technically, they need to use more in order to take a week off, for example, if they want to take time off with their partner who works a 5-day week. And you just think, why is this even a thing? Why do we not consider that some people work 6 days a week? It's absolutely crackers. So that was obviously, I think that was unanimously carried. So that's one. The other one that really stuck out in my mind was one that was brought by the Deaf and Disabled Members Committee. For obvious reasons, it's going to come to my mind. And what brought this about? Because it's a really difficult one, because I kind of understand the debate on both sides. I sort of get it. But what brought this about was an actor has been cast in the role of Richard III, who is perfectly able-bodied. Now, Richard III, as they actually said at the conference, this is exact quote, Richard III is the poster boy for disability. Now, Richard III had scoliosis, which is exactly what I have. So it's like, wow, I've never considered myself the poster girl of disability, but there you are. I think that shows just how important this issue is. And yet, based on my last podcast, you'll know that it's just overlooked all the time. Anyway, ignore that. So it was put forward that people with disabilities should be given first dibs at roles. And I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do that, to be honest. I really don't. And it should be, you should take somebody with the condition unless there's a good reason not to. And I think if you listen to Ricky Gervais' set, he makes, this is his last set, he makes jokes obviously about Stephen Hawking and doing a film of his life, and also the lady that was deaf and dumb. So he kind of he's not making fun of the individuals, he's just making fun of that principle that you should use somebody with the disability first. So I kind of get the debate, and also if you're an actor, you should be able to act anything. But I just think when it comes to minorities, like people with disabilities, people from LGBTQIA+, then why not? Why not give them a chance first? What I really did find intriguing, though, was somebody actually spoke out against this. It was the only time we had somebody speaking against one of the motions, and it was for disability. And that just says everything about society, really, doesn't it? And even the people that were speaking for it, there was one guy, he got up who was disabled himself and very evidently disabled, and he got up and said something about the guy that had spoken against it, and he turned around and said, yes, we can find you another Quasimodo. And I just thought, good God, even the people with disabilities are using that language, which is, as we've discussed, is completely offensive. Why do they do it? He wasn't using the term in context. He was absolutely using the term Quasimodo in an offensive manner, in my opinion. And that's somebody with a disability who was actually fighting for the motion. So there you are. It's a very heated area. Other than that, we had lots and lots of food. We were very well fed. The lunch and dinner was amazing. The dinner on Sunday was amazing. But then that was paid for by the lawyers. So there you go. It's always going to be good. In my experience, whenever I've been to an event run by lawyers, the food is always brilliant. The only downside on the food front was being given a plum to eat on the train on the way home with no napkin. But other than that, it was a great weekend. Much love and gratitude.